What if something as ordinary as your blood type isn't a personality label, but a quiet set of probabilities? Not destiny, not a horoscope, not you are like this. Just small biological biases written into how your immune system recognizes threats, how your blood clots, and how your body responds under pressure. Most people treat blood type like a box you tick on a form, but in a hospital, it can decide what you can safely receive in an emergency. And in research, it sometimes shows up in places you wouldn't expect: gut infections, clotting risk, and even cognitive health. This video is for general health information only. It's an evidence-based tour through what science can say, what it can't say, and why the most important message isn't what type are you, but what you do with that knowledge. Because the real danger isn't your blood type. It's not knowing your vulnerabilities until you're forced to find out the hard way. The rule everyone misses. Before we go type by type, one crucial truth. Blood type does not reveal your personality. It doesn't explain your relationships. It doesn't predict your future. What it can influence is biology, mainly through the ABO system and the Rh factor, which affect how your immune system recognizes cells and how certain proteins involved in clotting behave. Think of it like this. Your blood type is not a script. It's a settings menu. Most settings never matter until the day they do. Retention peak setup. The paradox. Here's the paradox. The blood types with the biggest hospital superpowers often carry quieter trade-offs, and some of the rarest blood types have something that feels almost unfair. They can save others, but they can't easily be saved themselves. So let's start with the most common type, because common doesn't mean simple. O positive. The majority workhorse. If you're O positive, you're in a massive club. In blood banks, O positive matters because it can be given to anyone with a positive Rh factor in emergencies, which covers a large part of the population. It's not the universal donor in the strict sense that title belongs to O negative, but in real-world supply and demand, O positive is a backbone. Now the biological trade-offs. Gut vulnerability. Research has long linked blood group O with higher susceptibility to H. pylori, a bacterium associated with gastritis and many peptic ulcers. The mechanism appears partly related to how the bacteria bind to the stomach lining. Clotting balance. People with blood group O tend to have lower levels of von Willebrand factor and factor VIII proteins involved in clotting. That can mean a lower tendency towards certain clots, but potentially more bleeding tendency in some settings. So O can look like a quiet advantage in clot risk terms, with a potential cost. In the wrong situation, free flowing becomes hard to stop. Not a guarantee, a tilt. A positive, the civilisation trade. A positive is also common and highly manageable for transfusions because A-positive patients can receive from A or O donors with the same Rh factor. But biologically, the ABO system shows something consistent across many studies. Non-O blood groups, A, B, AB, generally have higher von Willebrand factor levels, which is associated with higher risk of thrombosis compared with group O. That doesn't mean A equals heart disease. It means the baseline clotting environment can be different. Now, stress. You'll hear people claim type A is more stressed. Most of that is pop culture nonsense, but there are small research signals suggesting differences in stress biomarkers in some settings, though the evidence is not strong enough to treat as a rule for individuals. So here's the right framing. If you're A positive, don't assume you're doomed, but do take seriously the boring fundamentals that protect clotting health: movement, blood pressure control, sleep, and smoking avoidance. Because modern life doesn't announce its damage loudly. It accumulates quietly. B. Positive. Specialized defense. Possible overreaction. B positive is less common in many Western populations, and its distribution varies globally. The interesting scientific angle here isn't personality. It's that ABO antigens interact with pathogens in complex ways, and immune responses can differ. Some studies and reviews discuss associations between certain blood groups and inflammatory or infectious patterns, sometimes suggesting trade-offs where a defense that works well against one threat may not be ideal against another. But this is where we keep our feet on the ground. For an individual person, blood type is not a diagnosis. It's a tiny piece of a much bigger puzzle: genetics, environment, diet, sleep, and medical history. The practical takeaway for B positive is not fear. It's awareness, especially if you're dealing with inflammation issues, gut symptoms, or metabolic problems. AB positive, the universal recipient, with a quiet question mark. AB positive has a real medical superpower. You can receive red blood cells from any ABO type because your immune system won't attack A or B antigens in transfused red cells. That's huge in emergencies. But AB is also where a fascinating research signal appears in cognitive health. A well-known prospective study found that blood group AB was associated with a higher incidence of cognitive impairment compared with other blood groups in that cohort. Now, very important, science isn't a single paper. A very large donor study found no association between ABO blood group and Alzheimer's disease or vascular dementia risk overall. So the honest conclusion is, AB may show up in some data sets as a risk marker for certain outcomes, but the evidence is mixed. This is not a prophecy. It's a reminder that the brain's future is shaped far more by blood pressure, diabetes risk, smoking, sleep, and physical activity than by a letter on your blood type card. Still, the AB story is worth knowing because it teaches the core idea of this entire video. A biological advantage can sit next to a biological question mark. O negative, the emergency hero. O negative is famous for a reason. It's the universal red cell donor. In the chaos of trauma, when there's no time, O negative can save anyone. But here's the brutal twist. If you're O negative, your ability to receive blood is limited. You often need O negative back. This is where the framework hits hard. You might be the person who can save everyone, but your own safety net is smaller. And then there's the Rh factor in pregnancy. If an Rh negative mother carries an Rh positive baby, the mother can become sensitized and produce antibodies that affect future pregnancies unless prevented with standard medical care. This is well established in obstetrics, and modern medicine manages it effectively when monitored. General medical consensus. Discuss with a clinician. A negative, B negative, AB negative, scarcity as a health risk. Negative blood types are rarer, which creates a practical, modern vulnerability. Availability. In a major emergency, compatibility matters, and rarity can turn time into the enemy. AB negative, in particular, is extremely rare, but it carries a different kind of superpower. AB plasma can often be used broadly because it lacks anti-A and anti-B antibodies, making it valuable for plasma transfusions in emergency medicine. So again, paradox. The rarest person in the room can sometimes carry the most universally useful plasma. The real health message: autonomy. Here's the part that actually matters. Your blood type is not a judgment. It is not a personality test. It's a small set of biological tendencies that can matter most in two situations. 1. When you're sick and decisions are made fast. 2. When you ignore the quiet risks until they become loud. In Australia, we like to think we're invincible until the day we're not. And the US audience knows another fear: the loss of autonomy when health becomes a system of appointments, medications, and emergencies. Knowing your blood type is a tiny act of control. And there's a bigger act. If you're eligible, donating blood is one of the rare times you can directly save a stranger's life with an hour of your day. That's not inspiration talk. That's logistics. Closing. So what type are you? So here's what I want you to do. Check your blood type if you don't know it. And in the comments, tell me your type and one thing in this video that surprised you. Not because blood type defines you, but because understanding your biology helps you stop living on autopilot. If you like calm, evidence-based deep dives like this, subscribe. No hype, no fear marketing, just the strange, quiet truth of how the human body works.